Welcome to part 3 of our campaign into Night of the Zealot in the ARKHAM Horror, the card game. So what we've got going on here. So the Devourer below. After a frantic nightmare search throughout Arkham, you have tracked down and questioned several members of the cult. Your findings are disturbing. They claim to worship a being known as Umerdolf, a monstrous entity from another realm. You are able to confirm much of Lita's story. The cult is agitated over the destruction of a ghoul lair. However, a surprising detail also turns up. The one who invaded the lair and set this night's events into motion was none other than Lita Chandler herself. You're not sure why this important detail was omitted from Lita's story, but I'm pretty sure we can all guess. Did she tell you only as much as was necessary to draw you into her conflict? But in another light, she seems to be fighting to protect the city of Arkham from a terrible menace. The final piece of the puzzle was found written in a journal possessed by one of the cultists. It describes a dark ritual to be performed deep within the woods south of Arkham this very night. According to the journal, the ritual's completion will open a gate and bring forth the cult's dark master into this world. The cult has not stopped, Lita warns. There is a possibility that Nomodor's vengeance will consume all in its path. Frightened but determined to stop the ritual, you head into the woods. So for setup, since we had 2 people that escaped, we do start with 1 doom in place. I've gone ahead and collected all of our encounter cards. We've got these shuffled in here. And then our deck of goodies. And for this scenario, we actually have another chaos token to put in our bag of madness. So what's going on here is with this symbol, we're getting -X. X is the number of monster enemies in play. For this, -2, place a doom on the nearest enemy. For here, -3, if there's a monster enemy at your location, take 1 damage. And then a -5. If there's an Ancient One enemy in play, reveal another token. We're also told to set the ritual site aside, and then our Ancient One. And for locations, we have the main path. So Hangman's Brook separates uptown from the woods south of Arkham. Passing over the small bridge, you follow the main path deeper into the forest. Then we have 6 Arkham Woods location cards. We're going to give those a shuffle and then remove 2 from the game. And the remaining 4 are going to be our starting locations. So as for rolling, we have his 5 resources here, our 1 physical trauma. We'll go ahead and draw 5 cards to get our starting hand. Let's see, finding Lita, which we will definitely keep, even though we don't trust her anymore. So each investigator gets +1 attack. When an investigator at your location attacks a monster enemy, that investigator deals +1 damage. And she's got 3 health and 3 sanity for us. We also have an Elder Sign Amulet, Machete, a Roland's 38, and a Vicious Blow. So I'm liking several of these. I think we're going to keep those 3 and toss these, hoping to get some good skill cards. Getting 1 good skill card and a first aid kit, basically. So we'll shuffle these back into our stack. We start on the main path. So, Shroud of 2, no clues, connected to each other woods location, and we have an ability to resign. There's nothing we can do to stop them. You flee from the woods, leaving Arkham to its grisly fate. So we can save ourselves if we can get back to this location. So with that, for our first action, we're going to put Lita in play for free. Then we'll follow up with carrying a machete in there. So that'll give us an action to fight. Get +1 for this attack. If the attacked enemy is the only enemy engaged with you, this attack deals +1 damage. So that takes 3. And then for our next action, we'll just move up here to this section of the woods. Growing up, you were always warned to stay out of the woods at night. Now you know why. So a tangled thicket. So Shroud of 2, 1 clue coming in. This location is investigating using combat instead of the skill indicated by the investigation attempt. So we like going through the tangled thicket. So no enemies in play. So on the upkeep, we will draw a card, being hyper awareness. Gain a clue. Then we'll put our second doom over here and go ahead and read what's going on in the Arkham Woods. From interrogating members of the conspiracy within Arkham, you have learned that they are performing a rite of vengeance in response to the destruction of one of the Master's lairs. You have entered the woods outside Arkham to try to stop them. The woods seem unnaturally cold and filled with a deathly silence. And the investigating the trail, the evidence you've gathered has led you to the woods south of Arkham, where you believe a ritual to summon a being called Umberdorth is about to take place. Stealing your resolve, you set forth deeper into the woods, hoping to find the site of this ritual. So we're looking for 3 clues. And then an encounter card, Screeching Biaki. So fight of 3, evade of 3, health of 4. It's a hunter, while engaged with investigator with remaining sanity 4 or fewer. Gets +1 fight and +1 evade. So he comes over with us, and we start with 3 actions. So fortunately, we'll use our machete for a fight. So 4 + 1, we're up to 6 on 3. Starting out with a -2. So with that, we do 1 damage for the success, 1 more for this, and since it's a monster, 3 damage. Unfortunately, he's got 4 health, so we're going to try the same thing again. So 6 on 3, -1. We have defeated the monster. And this will go to our victory space. And after you defeat an enemy, discover 1 clue at your location. So even though this was our best place to investigate, we get that for free. So that was 2 actions. For our third, we can get back to the main path. No enemies, so on to upkeep. Finding some manual dexterity. And another resource. Put another doom out here. And Umberdorth's Wrath. Test your willpower. For each point you fail by, you must either choose one, discard a card from your hand, or take 1 damage and 1 horror. Well, we're 3. We need a 5. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. So that's actually a 0, but we still fail. So we have to discard a card from our hand or take a damage and a horror. And with these, I think we're going to lose our first aid. So our first action, we would jump up to this section of woods. Shroud of 2, 1 clue popping up. This location's investigated using willpower instead of the skill indicated. We're not too good in that, so we will use some unexpected courage to take us from 3 to 5, needing a 2. Doing good, getting our second clue. Third action, coming back to the main path. So upkeep, drawing a card, finding a knife, gaining a resource. Then we're going to put our 4th token over here, which will trigger. So death to the intruders. Throughout the woods, a shrieking cry echoes. From somewhere deeper in the forest, a score of hideous voices answers the call. Inhuman as the baying of hounds, and yet articulate, repeating a singular name. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck and discard cards from the top until a monster enemy is discarded. Spawn that enemy at the main path, which is where we're at, Then place a doom on that enemy. All right. So looking for a monster. Found one. So it is a monster. Fight a 2, 2 evade, and 2 health. It comes in with a doom on it. Then we move on to the ritual begins. Chanting builds in intensity, echoing into the cold air of the night. Sparse clouds in the sky coalesce above the ARKHAM woods, blotting out the faint light of stars. Each enemy gets +1 fight and evade. So now he's 3 fight and 3 evade. It is our action. So we will be a 6 on a 3, doing 3 damage to this thing. So first action, go ahead and kill this guy off. Second action, we're going to go ahead and put our gun into play, just in case. And that's going to come in with 4 ammo on it. And our third action, we'll go to this section of the woods, finding some twisting paths. So Shroud of 3, 1 clue. When you move out of this location, test our intelligence. If you fail, cancel the effects of the move. So not our strongest ability. So no enemies. On to our upkeep. Finding some evidence. Gaining a resource. Then we'll gain a token and draw a card. Finding a minion. That's actually good for us. It's easier to kill him and get this for free than it is to go searching for it. So he's going to be a 3 fight and evade and 2 health. He is a monster. So our first action, we're going to have 6 on his 3. Getting a -2. So we pick off that monster, which gets us our clue. So that was our first action. We can spin these 3 to go to the next one. So scattered throughout the forest, you've seen glyphs and arcane sigils in various places, etched into the park of trees, carved upon the faces of stones, and dripped in blood upon the ground. Though you cannot decipher the glyphs, you notice that most of them tend to face south. Following these signs leads you by twists and turns toward a cave in the darkest and coldest part of the forest. As you advance, shadowy figures emerge from the trees, blocking the only path to the cave. Put the set-aside ritual site into play, if it is not already in play. So we've got another place to go to. Search the collection for each enemy recorded in your campaign log under cultist who got away, and spawn them at the main path. So in our previous, the Wolfman and Herman got away. So they are now at the main path. And so when he attacks, he heals 1 damage. And then for him, it's an action we can choose and discard 4 cards from our hand. For a parlay, we can just make him go to the victory display. All right, so that's everything there. So into the darkness, the remaining cultists have followed you into the woods to try to stop you, and now they block the path to your objective. They stand ominously beneath the overhanging trees, silent sentinels in the night. You must defeat them or sneak past if you are gain access to the site of their ritual. If an investigator enters the ritual site, we advance. So for a second action, if we run in there, we could move and then fight 1 time, and then they're both going to beat up on us. So I think for a second action, we will draw a card, finding a dodge, and then we're going to put hyper-awareness into play because we might actually need this to get out of here. So that's going to cost us 2. So for the enemy's phase, they're staying where they're at. So upkeep, we'll draw a card. Ooh, good top deck there. So this will just do 3 damage to each enemy, but it costs 5. We're not going to hang around that long. So drew a card, got a resource. Put a doom up, drawing a cultist. Spawn this in an empty location. It's going to come in with a doom on it. Oh, we'll just throw him down here in a ritual site. If only we had 3 more money. All right, first action. We are going to attempt to move, testing our intelligence against a 3. We'll spin this to get us up to 4 or 5, and spin this to get us to 6. So -5. There's an ancient enemy in play. Reveal another token. Well, last action. I think we'll just gain a resource. Or that was our second action. Actually, the last 2 actions. We'll gain another resource. Maybe we will go for dynamite since we couldn't get out of there. Seemed like a wasted turn. So none of the enemies are going to move. So we will draw a card, finding a guard dog. Getting another resource. Putting this up here. Draw a card. I can't play assets or events. Things are not going well for us now. So first action, we're going to attempt to move out. No cards in hand to help. So base 3, we're going to spend 3 tokens to get us up to 6. That is +1 for each clue, so basically a 0 for us. So we were able to move with our first action. We are now engaged with these 2 guys. Second action, we are going to attack the Wolfman. Base 4, 5. Since we're engaged with 2, let's see, does that even matter? All right, so it can deal an extra damage. We're going to have to use the gun because the machete doesn't do too well against multiple people. So we're going to have 6 going on 5. We'll go up to 7. That is a -3. So we failed. If there's a monster enemy at your location, take a damage. Go ahead and put that damage on Lita, since she kind of led us astray. And since there's no chance of killing one, and we know he'd heal, we're going to attack Herman over here with another bullet. So 6 and 7. All right, so we were able to do 2 damage to him. But now they are going to hit back. So this guy's hitting us for 1 and 1. And this guy's hitting us for 2. So we'll turn this single into a 3. Then for upkeep, we'll draw a card, finding some perception. Gain a resource. Put a token out here, which gives us 4 plus 5. So a dark presence approaches. You are assaulted by invisible pressures that bring you to your knees. Terrible force threatens to invade your mind and soul. Your throat clenches and your eyes water as the sensation burns through you. Player order, each investigator must test willpower. Each investigator who fails must search the collection for a random basic madness weakness and add it to his or her hand. Oh, we've got a 3 for that. We could get up to a 4 and a 5. So this is going to be a fail. We'll go through the process. Yep, auto fail. So go through our collection for basic madness. So finding basic weakness with a madness, we have 2 amnesias, hypochondria, a paranoia, and a psychosis. So randomize these a little bit. And then end up with some amnesia. Choose and discard all but 1 card from your hand. Yikes. Okay, so we have to shuffle later or do something weird. So we get to keep 1 card. Well, we know we're not going to be able to afford that. It could save our life later, but we're probably going to need to be able to perceive. So we'll discard these. Vengeance awaits. The world begins to shift and change as the ritual nears its conclusion. The air grows chilly and the entire forest is covered in a layer of rime that the trees bend unnaturally and their shadows lengthen into weird shapes. When this agenda advances, if we're still in Act 1, which we've at least passed that, so if we're at Act 2 or 3, discard all enemies at the ritual site and spawn the set-aside ancient one there. Yep, looking pretty bad. So now we get a card. Mysterious chanting. Place 2 doom on the nearest cultist enemy. If there are no cultist enemies in play, search the deck. All right. So we'll put that on Herman here, who's a cultist enemy. For our first action, we're going to swing at Herman using a bullet. That gives us 6 on his 4. All right. So Herman goes down. And he goes to our victory pile. Second action, we can now use our machete since this is the only guy engaged with us, and that would have went away at the end of the last round. By that progressing, we did lose the +1, so he's just a 4. So again, we got 6. -1, so that'd be 2 damage on him. So for our third and final action, go in for the kill with our machete. Getting a -1. So into the enemy phase, that guy's not moving. Do some upkeep, drawing a beat cop. Get a resource. Then we will add a doom and draw a card. Ancient Evils, place a doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause it to advance. All right, we got a problem. So action 1, we're moving to the ritual site, which gets us engaged to an acolyte. Shroud of 3. The end of the round, if there are fewer than 2 clues per investigator on the ritual site, add clues to it until it has 2 clues per investigator on it. It comes out with 2. And we have entered the ritual site. So when you enter the cave, the air grows cold and your nostrils are assaulted by the pungent smell of blood and rot. Shuffle the encounter, discard pile into the encounter deck, discard cards from the top until 1 enemy is discarded. 2 enemies if there are 3 more players. Spawn each discarded enemy at the ritual site. So shuffling here. And then we're looking for an enemy. Found one, a ghoul minion. Monster enemy. So we're engaged with 2 people again. Alright, disrupting the ritual. So the site of the cult's ritual is inside a large cavern in a dark corner of the woods. In the center of the chamber is a candlelit circle marked by rocks and arcane runes. So in action, we can spin a clue, test your willpower or agility. If you succeed, place 1 clue on this act. Objective, if there are 2 clues per investigator on this act, advance. Alright, so we need to beat some people up, gather some clues, take some tests, and hopefully disrupt the ritual. So that was action 1, moving in there. Action 2 is to shoot the acolyte in the head. So we're going to spend our last ammo. Let's see. If there are 1 or more clues on here, we get +3 combat. So we're going to be 4, 5, 8 on 3. So -2, we're good. We're dealing more than enough damage. And since we killed an enemy there, we gain a clue. And that's limited once per round. Well, we'll go ahead and swing at him with our machete. Won't get us our clues since we can just do that once a round, but I don't want to do 2 other things to have him hit us either. So he is a monster. So we're base a 6 on 2. So getting a 4. So we've defeated him. And for our third action, I think we're just going to go try to investigate to get our 2 clues. So we've got a base 3. We'll go 4, 5, and spend a token to get us up to 6. And if we're successful, we draw a card. But we're -5, so we were not successful. And we are done. So no enemies. Upkeep, we'll draw a card, finding some guts. Get a resource. If this has less than 2, we'll add another clue on there. Then we will add a third one there. Find a monster. So spawn any empty location. And he comes out with a doom on it. So we're going to spawn him on the main path. And that doom's a problem. So what we're going to do, move action, become engaged, move action, have him hit us for 1. Then attack. 6 on his 3. So we're good. It defeated him. Which, oddly enough, gets us a clue. So that was 2 moves and attack, so we're done. Upkeep, drawing a card, a working hunch. Gain a resource. Then we'll gain a doom. You can see did that to keep that from progressing, and we just got to get lucky on our next turn. Except now we've got a wizard. All right. Well, for our first action, we're going to spin the clue. We are going to test agility. So our base 2. Then we're going to go ahead and spend 4 resources. Take us from 2 to 6. And pray. So that's -3. There's a monster at your location. Take a damage. So we're at 6. We needed a 3. We're good there. It's not a monster. So that clue goes here. But since we did an action that wasn't fight, evade, or parley, or resign, this guy punches us for 1. And then our second action, we are going to draw a card and see what happens. Finding a magnifying glass. Get punched in the face. Third action, spend a clue. This time we're going to test our willpower. Using guts, max 1 per test. Takes us up from a 3 to a 5. Let's see if we can pull this off. So -1. So that goes up here. We did take a damage. So that's 7 out of 9. All right. The ritual is broken. You brave the unnatural chill and weave through arcane symbols, crossing the threshold of the circle. You smother the markies on the ground, covering them with dirt, breaking apart the careful constructed pattern of smooth rocks. A shrill noise pierces your ears as the air grows suddenly warmer and the world distorts around you, settling into normality. So resolution 1. All right, resolution 1. You have managed to prevent the cult from summoning its master. Although you're unsure what would have happened had the cult succeeded, you're relieved that, at least for the time being, Arkham is safe. You capture as many cultists as you can find, but very few townspeople believe your tale. Perhaps it was all in your head after all. Probably. All right, so in your campaign log, record that the ritual to summon Ermidolf is broken. Each investigator suffers 2 mental trauma as he or she never fully recovers from his or her ordeal. And each investigator earns experience equal to the victory X value of each card in the victory display. We also earn 5 bonus experience as he or she has saved Arkham from a terrible fate. Investigators win. All right, so the end, or is it? Since there's only 3 scenarios and we did them. Let's see. The end of the campaign. Experience trauma and weaknesses granted by the final scenario resolution allows players to feel the full consequences of their actions. Investigators' many decisions and actions, as recorded in the log, form the outline of their story. Players are encouraged to share the results of their story in their investigators' final decks online at fantasyflightgames.com forums or on social media, aka YouTube. Now that you have completed the introductory campaign of Arkham Horror the card game, try playing the campaign again with new investigators or at a higher difficulty level. I'm good with trying it again. I'll keep it at the same level. Future expansions will introduce new campaigns for the players to embark on. Typically, a deluxe box forms a foundation for a new campaign, followed by 6 Mythos packs that continue and conclude the campaign. Standard rules dictate the players start each campaign with new decks and 0 experience. However, intrepid players who wish to embrace the chaos may transfer investigators who have completed one campaign into a different campaign by carrying over deck trauma and experience. So it could start new or keep this guy going who would have 1 physical trauma to mental trauma on him. How much XP did it gain for this? None down there. So another 3, so another 8 experience points. But I will probably continue on, starting with a different character just to see how they play. Although he did work well. Fight was really nice. Would have been nice to have his intelligence up a little more. Along with, yeah, it would have been nice to have 6 and all those for base abilities, but that's not going to happen. So that concludes our Night of the Zealot campaign in Arkham Horror the card game. Hope you enjoyed this series, so please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.